Hello, hello, hello. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Hathor Hosts, wherever you are joining us from in the world. This feels a bit naughty, actually, doing it in the middle of the day. I quite like it. Maybe we should set a precedent. I feel like I ought to have a cocktail or something just to be celebrating this auspicious occasion. Just a reminder, please, if you like what you see on the channel, click the subscribe button. You'll get updates on who the next guest is. We only have 4 left after today's guest. Also, do spread the word and spread the Stargate love. And finally, a little bit of housekeeping, parish notices. Please keep your questions till the end if you don't mind, because we are trying to get through as many as possible. I am delighted to have my guest with me today. The very first time I met her, I took one look at this and thought, I have got to become friends with this fantastic woman. And I'm delighted to say that we are. One of the reasons why we're having this much earlier today is because she finds herself in Thailand, lucky beast. And so it is my great, great pleasure to welcome and to say Sawadee Ka, Andee Frizzell. Woohoo!
Sawadee Ka! Kapkun Ka!
Kapkun Ka!
Hello, hello. Hi, everybody.
I love it.
Yes.
Queen of the Hive is in the house.
Queen of the Hive, girl. Queen of the Hive. Wow, it's so awesome to see you. How are you? How are you?
I am good. Plowing on.
Yeah.
We're still going, still alive, which is amazing. And absolutely delighted to have you with us.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you very much for joining us. So my first question is, I know, because you and I obviously have been corresponding, that you are in idyllic Thailand. But obviously that is not where you are from. So how is it that you end? Yes, I mean, you must not stick it. I mean, I'm sure you blend right in.
Blend in, yeah. You cannot local. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, blend in right in.
I mean, I'm 5'9.5", and the first time I went clothing shopping in Thailand, she just looked at me. They're so lovely and gentle. And the first thing she's like, you need extra large. I was like, yeah, okay, tell everybody in the shop, thanks.
Yeah, and shoes. So I'm 6 foot. I'm like 6'1", but I have really small feet. So I have size 39. And so in the real world, yeah. So I'm walking around. I'm like size 39, size 9. That's a pretty average size. And I walk by a store here, and they're like, no, big size, no big size. I said, I'm not big, no big size, And I'm like, and 39 to them is like, Godzilla shoes. Like, get the big, they're like skis. They're like, no, big size. I actually, when I first got here a year ago, just over a year ago, I had come for 30 days. So I had the wardrobe for 30 days. And we got locked down. As soon as I got here, I arrived on the 11th of March, and we had the lockdown on the 12th. And so I was like, oh my goodness. And so for 6 weeks, I was just washing the same clothes, and I had these yoga shorts from Lululemon that you could then start to see my lemons. You know what I'm saying? They were getting so thin and threadbare that when I would do my downward dog, you could see my lemons. Anyway, I said, I got to get on this, like, it's called Lazada. So it's like their Amazon version of Amazon. So I went on there to order shorts and just to, spruce up my wardrobe a little bit with more than one item, of each thing. Anyway, I got this stuff, and I was like, I got the largest size. Like, we got extra large, and it would come, and I was like, what thing would this fit? Like, I can't even get it over my foot to get it onto my leg to cover my
lemons. A handkerchief.
It was unbelievable. And then I was joking with my friends back in Canada, and I said, I should start like a YouTube channel of what Andee gets from Lazada today. Like how's it? But it would be pornographic. It would have just bars of inappropriate, because I couldn't cover up my bits to show you the outfits that were around. But I've figured it out. It's the sarite, the sarong. That's what I just wear. Lots of sarongs. They are one size fits all, girl. One size fits all.
That is the way to dress on an island. So you got there and got locked down. So that's obviously why you've been there. But I can't think of a more idyllic place to be stuck, honestly, in inverted commas than Thailand.
Well, see, I've actually taken that word right out of my vocabulary. I say moored. My ship was sailing and I got moored here, because stuck sounds so negative. And the idea that I was even here is actually shocking, because I was in Australia and I was there for 3 months. I was doing at Howard Fine. I was going to Howard Fine School in Melbourne, just to reconnect
with my tutor in LA as well.
Yeah, so he spends half the year in LA and then half the year in Melbourne. Anyway, he wasn't in residence when I was there, but I was there doing that. And then my visa was only for 3 months. I had to leave. And so right at this time, everything was up in the air and they were like, we don't know what's happening. And Corona was now outside of China. It was now becoming a world noticeable to the world. It wasn't a world issue yet, but it was just becoming noticeable. So I had got my visa for Australia expired March the 10th. And so I was like, I put it as far as I could. And then I'm like, I have to leave. So I got on the first plane out, which happened to be coming to Thailand. Like, this was completely not planned. So like, people say, oh, you couldn't have picked. And I said, I didn't pick, actually. It was all circumstance. And then I got here and it was like, if I had a tail, it would have been. So I got here and then everything happened.
Yeah. So
can you see me?
I can see you. Yes, you sort of froze for a little bit, but you froze in a beautiful way. Just to let everyone know, Andee is coming to us live from her jungalow, which I love that you've coined that term. But obviously, Wi-Fi in the jungle is not quite the same as Wi-Fi in the city. And as you said, a cobra or, all sorts of things that no one can anticipate might happen. So if we lose Andee, we have a backup plan. But everyone on this show who watches this show is quite used to technical challenges, shall we say?
I'm beginning to take it personally. Entertain yourself. And now that I know I'm going to freeze, I'm just going to start talking like this. So it just looks like I'm frozen the whole time.
So Andee, talk us through a kind of typical day of yours in Thailand.
Okay, well, you know what? I actually decided this morning, which you guys were all in bed, which was my morning, to record a day in the life of an exceptional day in my life. So I made a little video that I've handed over to you and put some music to it. So it's just kind of show you a little bit about the island and kind of what I've been doing for the last 365 days. Anyway, and a little throwback to the show Friends and Monica. I'm just going to say, it's the humidity.
Well, can I be the first one to say thank you so much for struggling by so nobly and valiantly and taking one for the team, because what a hellish life you have there.
I'm telling you, I don't post. I don't have Instagram. I just, my friends and family in Canada, they're like, "How are you?" I'm like, "Fine." And you? You know, like I don't. Yeah, it's
Wow.
pretty unbelievable. It really, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff obviously with COVID and everything. You know, you see how the beaches, there's absolutely no one, and of course there's economical ramifications of all of that. But for me, I'm seeing this in a perspective of this is a once in a lifetime sort of opportunity. And I kind of coined this. I'm seeing Thailand in the 1980s with the technology and luxury of the 21st century and convenience, but with the populace of the 1980s. There's no one here, you know, so it's a pretty magical place already, and then to have it as your own, feels like your own private country, you know.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. There's not a day I don't wake up feeling very blessed and so grateful, so absolutely grateful.
Yeah, sounds like a plot for a new sci-fi show. I just think we'll park that little idea in the back of our minds.
Where
So,
are the
Andee,
people? Yeah. I woke
yes, I
up.
mean, it has been slightly dystopian anyway, hasn't it? The whole experience of
I
COVID.
was
It
just
has
gonna
felt
say,
like
I
some
think,
sort of apocalyptic thriller.
well, and some of the places, like I went to the island of Phi Phi, and they, because no one knew how long, and no one still knows how long this is going to be. They had basically, the government just kind of said, we have to close all of these places, like massage parlors, beauty parlor, like, so people just like shut the doors of their establishment and they walked away. And then of course sand and dust, you know, accumulate. And so when I was walking through these like super narrow streets, you could see like places like with a coffee cup just sitting on, but there was now like dust on the side. Like it really looked apocalyptic, like, because people left thinking they would be back in a couple of days or maybe a week, but it's now been over a year. So it's really unbelievable, you know, to we are living a sci-fi episode right now. This is a sci-fi show, really.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But don't
Andee,
you
let's
think?
go.
Oh,
Sorry.
so I was just gonna say, don't you think? I've mentioned this to my family and friends that I feel as an actor, I have been preparing for this my entire working career. As actors, this is what we do. We sit around in a very contained space and wait for somebody to call upon us, right? To go and do our thing and then go back. So I've been preparing to not be in contact with the world and not being able to leave and not being able to go places, but still still connect with my friends via, you know, whatever modem I have available to me at the time. So I feel like I've been preparing for this my entire adult life.
Well, that's a really good way of looking at it, actually. I think that's a really positive spin on it. So, talking of
Right?
your life, let's go back to the
Yes.
beginning. You were born in Canada on Prince Edward Island,
Oh my
but
gosh.
moved around
Yeah.
quite a lot. And I
Yes.
wanted to
Yes.
say, like, you are one of the best natural storytellers and comedians that I've ever met. Where does that come
Oh,
from?
I love it. Oh, I don't know. Unmedicated? I don't know. I don't know. I yeah. Well, I guess, you know, you can say you have your origin story, and my origin story is when I was growing up, we didn't have a television, and so storytelling was this is what we did. Like my mom would get one of those from the meat butcher shop. They had those brown paper, it was all on a huge roll, and she would get one from the butcher shop, and then my sister and I would draw on this thing and like all these scenes all the way along, and then it would roll it up, and then we would have these television shows where we would like pull the thing, and then there was like tick, 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 tick. And of course I would narrate, you know, the whole story as it's like being rolled out across. And so yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of growing up, telling stories and entertaining people, and then ergo the career that I fell into chose me. I don't know. But I love telling stories.
Yeah, I think it definitely is one of those things too, as an actor, that it chooses you as much as we choose it. Was anyone else in your family involved in the industry, or just you?
No. No. They're yeah, no. Not at all. No one. Everyone is hardworking, you know, linear, like get a job. My mom's in the, well, she's retired now, but she was a nurse for many years, you know, like a very solid job, you know, like, and then I'm like, well, I want to play for a living. And she's like, yeah, okay. I actually just remembered something she told me the other day. I mentioned it to her. I said, you remember when I was growing up, you said to me, why don't you get one good job instead of 5 crappy jobs? Because I was always like running around doing, like, you know, trying to, like, as an actor, right? We're always auditioning. We're always job interviewing. That's what we do. We get one job and then we interview again. You know, I know that a lot of people think that you reach a certain level in your career where you're like calling Spielberg and being like, hey, you know what I want, you know? and I'm not on that rung yet, you know. It's a couple of, it's just above, it's just a little,
just
like
a few.
Just a few, you know. But yeah, we're always looking for work. We're always, you know. So she was like, why don't you just get one good job, you know, instead of 5 crappy jobs.
But you obviously had this fantastic wanderlust and adventurous spirit, because at 17, I mean, I left South Africa at 23, 24. And I think I was kind of like so shocked when I arrived in LA, because I'd come from a country where I was a big fish, but in a teeny tiny pond. And suddenly I was thrust into the world of LA and pilot season. And there you were from Canada, and you got on a plane and went to Europe at 17. So how did that come about? I mean, you were modeling, right? Oh, she's getting their lights sorted, everyone.
Oh my God, what's happening? I was like, oh, I'm having an issue here. My light just fell. A cobra got me. A cobra got me. Oh yeah, it's just decided. It's just like, I'm gonna.
It's like, I'm not playing ball. I don't know. It's too hot.
Yeah.
I think
that's exactly what's happened. It's like, it's just too hot. I don't know what it's doing. So we've killed my light. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah. So I was working at a pizza place, and right across from the pizza place, Pizza Hut, shout out, and $5 for pizza. Anyway, and this modeling agent from Paris was staying in the hotel next door, and so he came in for pizza, and he's like, you know what you should do? You should come to Europe and go modeling in Paris. And I was like, okay, you know, sure. And 5 days later, I was like, oh my God, what did I sign up for? Yeah. It was pretty crazy.
I mean, one hears. Sorry, carry on.
No, you were going to say something.
No, I was just going to say, one hears kind of horror stories from both sides of the industry, you know, as an actor, but particularly with models. And I know when I was 17, I won a modeling competition, and I took one look at it and I was like, this is not the world for me. I mean, it felt very restrictive. So how did you, I mean, there you were, 17, presumably living in an apartment in Paris with loads of other girls.
Ooh,
like, how did you enjoy that? Did you kind of just go, yeah, I love it?
Well, I think, you know, I have this approach okay, are you gonna, oh, it's a ghost. It's a ghost. I am a haunted jungalo. I am a haunted jungalo. It just keeps turning on, being like, and then off. Maybe it's a lie light. Like every time I tell a lie, it like goes on or something. I have a
Well, you
liar
don't
light.
need it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so I went to Paris. I think I felt like the entire time that someone was gonna go, you fraud, So I was like, I'm just gonna run with this until
Yeah.
someone's like, what are you doing here? And I'll be like, haha, just kidding, and so I don't know, maybe I have a very childish way of looking at life, but I was like, I'm just gonna, it wasn't a lifestyle for me, and it was definitely not a goal. Like, it was an opportunity I saw it as an opportunity to travel and to meet people, and I still, and I think you can find trouble. If you want to find trouble, you can find trouble, anywhere you can find it. And there's definitely some terrible stories that I have heard through that business as well. Fortunately for me, that I don't have those stories. I have some pretty funny stories. Like, my first roommate and I was 17. We had this apartment in Gambetta. Do you know Paris very well?
Yes. Ish.
Yeah. Oh, ish. Okay. Well, Gambetta is a really nasty neighborhood, real cheap neighborhood. It's near the grave of Jim Morris. It's like right around. If you leaned out my window and held onto you could kind of see the entrance to the cemetery that Jim Morris is buried in. Anyway, we had 3 days after moving into this real interesting apartment. We were trying to get out. We lived in the very, very top, because in Paris, the higher you are up, the poorer you are, because you have to walk all those stairs. So we were in like a steeple, like one spot you could stand in the middle. Anyway, the next morning, we couldn't get the door open. And it turns out that a heroin addict had overdosed out in front of the door. And then he went into rigor mortis. And so his legs were like this. So when we tried to open the door, they kept banging into the wall. So we couldn't get the door open. So
I mean, that's not funny,
like
but it is.
Dead guy. We're like, help!
There's a stiff outside the door.
There's literally a stiff outside my door. Like, yeah. So, yeah.
So
I mean, I know kind of stories.
I know the last time I saw you, which I can't even remember when it was, but we talked and I was like, you need to do a one-woman show, or like write this down, because your stories are hilarious. So by the time you go back to Canada, you have now decided that you want to do the switch and go from modeling into acting. What made that sort of what was the kind of deciding factor to make that switch?
Well, actually, I've been acting since acting in theater since I was 4. The first time, sock puppets, and I was like, oh, people are loud. Like, that was the thing. I heard the audience laugh, and it was like, that's it, Red Dragon. Like, that was my heroine. I just, what do they say? You chase the dragon. That first feeling of being able to connect and to feel them and to make and elicit a response was just So I've always wanted to do the acting, and then the modeling kind of was like a segue. I thought it was going to segue more into the acting thing, and unfortunately, because where the modeling was happening, I couldn't speak the languages, so it wasn't transferring into the acting the way I wanted it to. So I ended up back in Canada, and I just thought, if I'm gonna give this a shot in film and TV, then I need to stay in one place. And that's sort of been a big challenge for me. Because if I don't stay in the country or the town or the city, then I move 80 times. Like, people are like, don't you live? No, I don't live there anymore. I live down there. Oh, you live in, I like that sort of newness.
Yeah.
A lot. So that's what made the transition, basically, was came back.
Yeah, so you came back and kind of right away started working. And I was just,
yes,
let me put my teeth in. I was just going to say that your career is quite steeped in sci-fi, it seems. And I watched an interview with you from a few years ago, and you said such a lovely thing when you were asked, do you ever worry? The question was, do you ever worry about being typecast? About sci-fi and being typecast in sci-fi, and you had such a lovely answer. Do you remember what you said? I can remind you if not.
Yeah, do it. Tell me. I was like, oh God, what did I say?
No,
I mean, I know what I feel about it, but tell me what I
us, because
said
I'm sure.
exactly.
Well, you basically said not at all, because the sci-fi fandom is so loyal and so supportive, which has absolutely been all of our experience. Every guest that I've had on the show, this has come up. So I just thought that was such a lovely thing to say,
I was like just wondering, how did I say it? Because I was like, that's how I feel, but I didn't know if I was like, if I made a funny and that's what you remembered, or if it was a heartfelt. But I feel the loyalty of the fans. I mean, the transition, and you've done television and film and TV as well, and you can be a regular. No one is asking me, hey, remember that time you played the helicopter pilot? Do you want to come and talk about that, and connect with the people that watched you pretend to be a Russian villain, But when I never really played normal characters, but when you're in the sci-fi, the fans, they keep this beautiful thing alive. Yeah, like it's still alive, it's still organic, it's still happening. And when you meet them, that theater connection, that response to the audience, you get that. Because when I'm on set playing the line tip cop, or whatever it is, you may be affecting the audience, but you don't know that. And so having the show, filming it, and then fans meeting them and hearing how it was affecting them, it's like that connection you get from theater. You're like, oh, I've connected with the audience. And so, yeah, this is not, again, not typecast. I was like, please, it's such a blessing to play this role. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, and I think also the thing about sci-fi is that it has lended itself in the past, and certainly now, to having a slightly wider imagination to regular casting. And your height has to have something to do with that. I mean, has your height affected your work in any way, both positively and negatively?
Yeah, well, I would say I mean, I would say, and positively, is when I walk into the room to audition, there is 10 other people. It's a very narrow, I'm in a very narrow niche. However, the 10 other people that are there will be of a different nationality, of a different gender, we're all so unique. And so when I walk into the room, if I get it, this got it, However, those unique roles don't come as often as more of the mainstream roles. Like, I'm not playing somebody's mom, I'm not playing, and so those roles, so they're much more, perhaps maybe working more consistently, but not with all I want to say the accolades, but the reward of the role. Each one of my characters has been memorable to me. So I think this got me in, and it got me the roles. That they were very specific roles. So if I did lose a bunch of roles because of this, I didn't know I had them to lose. It's not like I was standing there and someone came and grabbed and took them away, right? So, but what I am doing, I mean, what I've been doing for the last 9 years is I work, now exclusively because I'm on the road, is voice acting. And that to me is so freeing, because you are out, like, this is not existent. it's the ultimate playground. It is the ultimate playground. I don't do voice characters. I do a lot of narration and stuff. But I love the idea that I can step outside of how I, like just your gender or your race or your like you can step outside of that in the voice world. But again, like going back to what you said about sci-fi, I mean, someone with much more ability on the computer can fact check me. But I mean, wasn't sci-fi the first genre to introduce women in certain roles, minorities in certain roles?
Yeah,
like
100%.
Sci-fi has not only broadened our imagination with what they create and what they write, but they've also cast, they've blown the glass ceiling off of just these little boxes, right? I love the sci-fi genre for that. It's fascinating to me that, I mean, even now with this pandemic that's happening, they're quoting all of these sci-fi writers that had written about something like this happening. I mean, this is pretty incredible, the imagination, right? And you get to manifest that for them. So I think that's amazing.
Exactly. Well, speaking of sci-fi, let's chat a little bit about your episode of Andromeda, where you worked alongside two sci-fi alum, which was Lexa Doig and Chris Judge, who weirdly
is quite, I love them.
He's quite Teal'c-esque actually in that episode. And you play Mina, who is an AI. And I have to say, like, knowing you, when I see you as Andee, you're quite free and you move around a lot and everything. And I loved that it was such a still, unanimated, in the best way, performance. So was that quite challenging?
God, I love you. Oh my God, I love you. I laugh so much about that role because, oh my God, that was so fun. Because I had a crush on Hercules. Hercules.
Hercules.
And oh my God, when I was living in Toronto many years before that episode, before getting that role, I was living in Toronto and I didn't have enough money for I didn't have a television. And Hercules and Xena and The Simpsons were on television in a row on Sunday. It was like Xena, Hercules, and Simpsons. And
I remember.
Right, on Sunday nights. So I used to go down to, at the time, it was Sears, right? And they had on the corner, I think it's Eaton Center. It was Eaton Center, but it was a Sears. And they had the where you could buy televisions, and they had couches, and there was like all the appliances. And so I would bring like microwave popcorn. I'd pop it in the microwave, and I'd sit in the comfy chair, and every Sunday I'd watch Hercules. And so I had a major crush on Hercules. And so I get this role, and I'm like trying to be like, I'm talking to Hercules. Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Well, it also stood you in very good stead because, of course, the next job that came your way was the Wraith Queen in Stargate Atlantis.
Oh my God.
So
love it.
Dive into, see what I did there? Dive into Atlantis. I want to know, did you know, like, when I auditioned, right, I had they were quite vague about who the character was.
100%.
So they didn't say anything that, like, she's an Egyptian goddess. There was none of that. It was just like, I remember there was like a handwritten note, and obviously it had been photocopied or something, that said something along the lines of, we as the viewer, when we meet Hathor, are not sure if she is insane because she refers to herself in the third person, or if she is in fact royal. And I was like, what? So I wondered how much info you were given prior to your first audition.
None. There was none of that. And this, what was really exciting about this character is that they had never been seen. So I think that they had an idea of what they wanted the character to look like, but they didn't know what the character, like the mannerisms or anything. So it was carte blanche. Like they just said, here, show us. And I remember the audition itself, like I'm in the lineup with all the other weirdo girls like me, you know, like, hi, nice to see you again, you know, like, because we were all auditioning. You know, I'd run into the similar people for the similar, you know, different shows. And all of us had sort of had a different take on it. And I remember that, like, that it was before that audition, it was near Halloween or something, and I had this weird wig. And I don't know, I just, when just reading it and building this character in my mind, I pictured her very reptilian. That I don't know, it felt really natural. And so I had this like long drawn out, like, and very reptilian, that's the best, snake. And so what I did was, like, this wig was super blonde. It was super blonde, and it was cut really angularly. And then I put nothing on my face. So it was just completely kind of whited out, and then just had all these movements. It looked really creepy. And I will tell you, in my career, that was the one time there was lots of people auditioning. It's a big, beautiful, amazing show. No callbacks. I booked, that was it. They booked me. Just the no callbacks for that. Yeah, it was. And so I'm sure there was other really great performances, but I think they were like, that's what we're looking for, like that kind of mannerisms, you know. So it wasn't that I was playing anything from, like, I could have guessed completely wrong, you know, I could have created completely wrong, but they liked what they saw. So it ended up working in my favor.
I think it's interesting though, because like as actors, we're always told, like, don't take props to auditions, don't wear wigs. I mean, I've had this discussion, and weirdly, I once wore a wig to an audition too, because the sides said that she's wearing a wig and she's in this like really crap band, and then at the end she takes the wig off. And that's obviously the viewer then goes, oh, she's wearing a wig. And I just thought, you know what? I've got this wig, I'm going to do it. And when I walked in, they were like, oh, you look different. And then I took it off in the thing, and it was brilliant. And I got a recall or callback, didn't get the job in the end, but that's fine. But it's interesting, because sometimes I think, make a choice, even if it's wrong, be strong and wrong, but make a choice and go for it. And as it, you know, in your case, it completely paid off.
Yeah, I love that, like, strong and wrong. And that's just it. Like, I feel like if you go in unsure, then they're unsure. But if you go in committed to something and they're like, oh, girl, that is totally not what we were thinking, then you actually have an even better opportunity, because then whatever they do tell you, now they've seen you go from completely committed to one thing to flipping it on its head and going, oh, wow, this girl can act, you know, because now you've had the opportunity to show them the two different sides of it, right? So I always feel, even if you're gonna go in, you know, go in strong, like, make your choice. And I just, again, just eliciting from the writing, that's how I felt. Like, it was just this very sensual, very, like, playful, and I really, I remember that audition very specifically because of that, because it was just so freeing. They didn't have a breakdown. They didn't say what they were looking for. They were like, here, this character has never been seen. This race has never been seen. So it was just like being handed the, like, you know, a coloring book with all the crayons, and you're just like, like, that's so much of our job, you know, especially I feel in Canada, we do, you know, we fill in a lot. We have a lot of day player roles, you know, so they're like, here's your role, this is who you are, you know, you're a blue collar worker, you're a police officer, you're a lawyer, you're a nurse, you're a doctor. And you're like, okay, you know, there's not a lot of imagination that goes around with that. And you go in, you do it, and it's great. You're acting, you're working. But this was like someone saying, like, show me, you know, show me what you can do. It's in your imagination. And then meeting James, and James was exactly like, we both went into test the prosthetics, and we were both like, rah, rah, you know, like just trying to make our faces do all this weird, like, you know, like just,
well,
how
so
can we make these things work?
Let's talk about the prosthetics and the look of the character for a moment, because at this stage, in the first one, you were the keeper and also Wraith Queen. You did you know at that stage that you'd be playing all of them, or was that okay? So I'll come to that, but let's just talk about. So you're in a fitting because, girl, that first appearance, she's a bad bitch and scary.
I know.
So, like, how easy was it to move in the, because the teeth, those gnarly teeth and all the like, how that must have been a real challenge.
It was, but I felt up to the challenge, and I actually feel like I kind of I want to say it was an easier role to play, because I opened, like, they're doing their work, and then you open your eyes and there's no backstory, there's no, like, there's no needing to believe, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes we do our backstories for our characters, and we embed so much into it so that we can ground in them, right? So that we can become them. I had to take one look in the mirror and be like, I'm not me. I am not me. So being in the prosthetics, just, again, it's all about the freedom. Like, it released me from being me, and it broke that wall. Like, I was not someone else. I was very much that wraith, and could play it, and could see it and feel it, you know? So it was difficult, but at the same time, I think they picked me because of my animation, and then animating through layers and layers, so it looked really subtle, but it was because it was rippling through all that silicone. And of course, as they got better and more proficient at the prosthetics, and more technology and advancements in makeup were being, everything got thinner and lighter and easier, and, you know, so the first episode was a doozer. Like, the first pilot was a real doozer. That makeup was extremely thick. But again, they're so talented in what they do and how creative they are, that, you know, it all worked. It really, they're just, I mean, I can't say enough about everybody that contributes, you know? So yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like it was a challenge. I feel like it was just an opportunity, you know, like it was just an opportunity to really make this bigger, you know? How many times have you ever been on set where they're like, oh, that's too little, you know? Like, they're usually like, turn it down, you know? This was like, it could be as big as you needed it, you know? I love that opportunity. So
I loved it. And my best line, because of course, researching you, I've spent the last 2 weeks looking at your work and watching as much as I could find, and I just love that line when at the end,
oh my God,
and they ask about everything's going and it's all happening, and you just look and you're like, all of them. I was like, oh my God, she's so scary.
Well, it was.
Sorry, carry on.
So, I was just gonna say, it was so funny because for the first, I would say 7 years of my career, in my agent's office, he had a Post-it note that said, book Andee a role that her nephew can watch, because my nephew was young, and my sister was like having none of it. She's like, he will have nightmares forever. So on his 19th birthday, he's like, I got all the DVDs. I'm watching Andee in all these horror movies that I was in, and I played like devils and Satan and all that. So yeah, it was pretty funny. He couldn't watch anything that I was in.
None of that.
But that's a testament to the good, to the acting, right? Is the, I mean, 100%. It's scary enough.
Yeah.
But sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, so you mentioned you didn't know at the beginning that you would be playing all the Wraith Queens. So how did that come about? But they obviously went, well, she's fantastic, we're keeping her.
Yeah, and I think it was that they wanted that uniform because all of the Wraith were made through the replicator, right? So they wanted that same physical form to be replicated through the
Yes.
species, right? So we all had all the Wraith, the race of Wraith, female Wraith, that we had the same character, like physicalities, but we had sort of personality, so the hair is different. We had that kind of, so it differentiated us, but ultimately but then you can see the very last queen, the story went in a different direction. And then they were like, oh, there's no, like, we can't, there, you know what I said? Like, because I love Rach, poor little Rach. She's so tiny that they were like, oh, this is not going to be believable if we don't have a Wraith that is similar height. It's not gonna.
Of course.
So I stepped out of that one. But yeah, it was like, oh, because it just to go with the story, right? And again, that's a thing too, is that I don't take that as a personal jibe at my acting ability.
No.
I am here as a vessel to tell a story. And if that story, for it to be believable and for it to come alive, they needed someone that looked, that had the same physicalities as Rachel. So there, that's how it is. That's how it went. But yeah. So and that they even gave the Wraith all my physicality, like they chose that too, right? So yeah, it was a surprise. It was.
I love that you made each one of them completely different. I was saying, I love that you made all of them different.
Oh,
so their physicality was different, their personalities were different. How much of that was on the page, or was that a kind of collaborative thing with you and the producers going, oh, I can bring this to this one and this to that one?
No, they just, again, you get the page and you get the objective, and then you're like, okay, how is this character gonna get that objective? Like, how am I gonna try to get what I want? And again, because everyone on these shows, they're so talented, from the costume design to the writers to the makeup artist so I was just pulling everything from, it's all a collaboration. The way the story, the way so the one queen that lives under the water, she's had none of the subtleties of understanding that that they lost the war. So she's like, what's this? Like, I'm not even gonna, like, I'm not even talking to you about this. Like, what is this talking to the food? Like, and so there was that when she's walking around, like, I had that sort of, I pulled that from where she was. She's been under the water. She doesn't know, so she's not gonna be snarking around like, oh, she's like, I'm a superior being. Bugger off,
Yeah. Well, you did. You absolutely you retain that kind of wonderful high status with all of them, and I love that. And I love that they're all very, very different. Do you have a favorite, say, top 3 out of the 8 you played?
Oh gosh, I don't know, because I loved. I don't know. I loved all of them for, for certain things, like just their conniving abilities or their clothes. The one in Allies, I was like, girl, those shoes. I want those shoes.
Right? The one with the choker, also very sexy, and the black hair. I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, like there's, so and just the way that the characters move the stories. You know how sometimes you fall in love with the character because you grow with them or change with them, or you see how important they are to the story. And so I don't think I could pick I couldn't pick just one. I loved the whole thing. I loved being able to be all of them. I love the race. I really, of course, no one wants to see a series come to an end, but I would have loved to have seen some more development on them and how they were evolving, from this superior race to what are you talking about? We lost and we were,
Exactly.
And so just how are they adapting to and morphing and changing to the new way, So yeah, I would have loved to have seen where they would go with it. These amazing imaginations.
That would make a cool origin story to sort of see like how they become, because I also loved your interpretation that you were like, I don't think that they are evil. I don't think that they are, they're doing what they have to do to survive. And I think that was such a cool take on it.
Yeah, and that's number one in acting, right? I mean, no one thinks they're the bad guy. Even the bad guy, he doesn't think he's the bad guy,
Yeah.
Or it's a pretty flat character if he plays the bad guy,
Yeah.
I remember being quite surprised that it was an interview with David, actually, with Gate World, and he said, oh, you're evil, and I really took a minute, and I was like, who said that? Like, I was like, you talking to my ex-Wraith boyfriend? Like, what? Who said that I was evil? And it really surprised me. I mean, I could be powerful, and I could be a nemesis, and I could be a challenge to these guys, but evil? I'm just trying to get a job done. I'm just trying to take care of my species,
Yeah. I always said about my character, I was like, I'm not evil, I'm just misunderstood.
That's it, but that's what I'm saying. It's truly, we're not. I mean, the intentions behind it is maybe an evil way of going about it, but we don't think of ourselves, the characters, as being evil.
Exactly.
Right? We're just, this is the way we're trying to get our stuff. We're trying to accomplish our goals. This is the way we're trying to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, we just, and if we play, we do everything the right way. It's so limited.
Yeah. Well, speaking of badass gals, I was having a look, and you appeared in 2007 on another massive Stargate franchise, not Stargate, sci-fi franchise. Stargate on the brain. Supernatural. And can I tell you something weird? I noticed that the director of your episodes was a guy called Mike Roll, who I have spent the last 3 years working with, because he is the director. Yeah, he's the director of the Princess Switch franchise that I've been in for the last 3 years.
Oh my God. That's hilarious. Well, I love that. I love that show. I love that show. And I actually went in for a completely different character. I had gone in for a police officer, and I walked in, I did my thing, and they were like, could you wait? We might have another role for you. And I was like, sure. And they handed me the sides, and I walked out and went, oh, she's dead. I was like, yes. And went to the car, pulled it together, walked back in 15 minutes later, and they were like, that's the one, and booked it. But by the time I left them, got back in my car, my agent called and said, they booked you. And I loved it. Now, the funniest thing was the lead, the guy, Jensen. I'm going to say Jensen. Jensen. Anyway, that was the second show. I think the second thing that I shot with him in a matter of a couple of months. And he's in the cell room, and I go after him. And we were sitting there waiting for, change of lighting and stuff. And he looks at me and he goes, why are you always trying to kill me? Every time I worked with him, I was always trying to kill him. And I was like, that's because they always paint me out to be the bad guy, but I'm not evil. I may be the bad guy, but I'm not evil.
But I did love Dolores was like a ghost, a serial killer, and quite violent. Definitely not one for your nephew. So did you do?
That's what I'm saying.
Did you do anything specific to prepare for her, or did you just kind of use your imagination in the writing?
It was all there. It was all in the costuming. It was all written on the page. That show was, all shows, but that show was fantastically written for day play characters. Like they knew what they wanted to see, and they let you, you know, and you just got to take it all in, like, and you know, it's like the two sides of the spectrum. When someone is so clear, when the writer is so clear on the character, you can focus fully in embodying that, you know, you have no doubts, so you can just totally sink in and totally immerse yourself into playing exactly that, and really getting in there. Or you get complete carte blanche and you get to play. And those, you know, being in the two sides, and those two were so opposite, you know, it's like absolutely nothing and then absolutely everything, you know, it's not in the middle there. But I have the best story. So did you ever shoot in Vancouver? Did you ever did you shoot at the now I'm, because I have Thai on the I'm living here in Thailand so long, I have too much sun on the brain. What was the old psychiatric ward called?
That I don't know.
And they shoot everything there. They shoot everything there. I'm totally blanking right now.
I'm just looking on our comments to see if anybody watching the show is clever enough to let us know.
It's Riverside or Riverview. I think it's Riverview.
Riverview?
Yes.
I'll take your word for it.
Oh gosh. Please don't fact check me. Please don't fact check me. Or no, please fact check me, but don't.
Yes, Riverview Hospital. It's Riverview Hospital. You're right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Drew.
So Riverview Hospital is absolutely terrifying. I shot Van Helsing there. I shot this player. I shot another show there. So many shows are shot there, and it is creepy as all get out. And so when I was shooting Supernatural, and I was dressed as Dolores, right?
Yeah.
And so my trailer, the circus is parked and the trailers are further away. And it was pouring rain, and it was just an absolute, you know, lightning, thunderbolts, like it was right out of a literal horror movie. And I was on set, which was in the hospital, and creepy. And I just said, I've really got to go to the washroom, but I can't go back to my trailer. And they're like, oh, there's a bathroom on the 3rd floor. And I was like, are you like, what? And and I said, somebody gonna come with me? And they were like, you need someone to go to the bathroom with you? And look at, you saw Dolores, right? So imagine I'm walking up the stairs, mantra out loud, saying, don't run into me. Don't run into me. Don't run into me. Don't want to see me. Don't want to see me. Don't want to run into me. Because I was sure that some psychiatric nurse ghost spirit that looked exactly like me was going to be like, I'm better at this than you. You know, like I was petrified. I swear, I don't think I peed so fast in my entire life. I was like, oh, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. I thought for sure I was going to run into myself.
That is the scariest thing. I've never had to do like a horror film, and I know you've done a few. I mean, let's talk quickly about two very scary roles: The Seamstress and Blood, a Butcher's Tale. I think we kind of know where that's going.
Yes.
So your character in The Seamstress is, again, terrifying. Firstly, where did you film that? Because so much of that seems to happen outside, and that's equally terrifying.
It was exactly. When you're outside going, don't run into yourself. Don't run into yourself.
Exactly. Jesus. Or worse, don't run into somebody carrying a weapon, dressed like that,
looking like me. Exactly. Like, unbelievable.
I'm an actor.
It was awesome. Seashelt. So we shot in Seashelt. So it's in the Sunshine Coast, and so you take a little ferry to get there, and then we were all shacked up in the motel, the local motel.
Hold that. And keep talking your story. My doorbell is just gone. Everyone, you can't make this up. It's the middle of the day. Bear with me.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love it. The doorbell is gone because her Lazada order it's your Amazon order. It's those fun panties that you ordered. We want to see what you ordered. I totally guessed it. Oh my gosh, I love it. I knew it.
Right.
Oh
I
my
could
God,
hear
I
all of
love
that
it.
though. So you were in the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, on the Sunshine Coast. I love it. My doorbell just went. I was on the Sunshine
I
Coast.
still said to my husband before the show, I was like, my luck, the bloody guy will come as we're doing the show. Sure enough. Anyway.
You should have invited him in. Oh my God, that would have been awesome. I'm from Thailand to Amazon. That would have been amazing. Yeah. So we shot it on the Sunshine Coast, and that was actually super exciting. I love that role because I got to do wire work. So I got to do the wire work and flying through the air, and yeah, it was fascinating. And that audition actually, they booked me because of movement, being a yoga instructor and all that.
Yeah.
And so the audition, they didn't tell me anything that it was. I walked in and it was just a room and there was no cameras, nothing. And they just said, "You're dead, move." And I was like, okay. And so I just threw myself on the floor and I started doing all these weird, like I was coming out of a cave, out of the ground. And they were just like, okay, book it.
Done.
Done. Yeah, but it was really scary because it's interesting when you play in these characters. When you're in prosthetics, I don't see what's happening. I'm looking out, right? So I'm talking to people, blah, 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 and I've got like one glaucoma eye, the other one's like this. I've got like lips sewn shut, and I'm like, beep, 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 you know, like it's like, it's so weird. And one of my favorite stories of this is I was working, it was on Allies. And so I was sitting across from Tori Higgins, and she was across the desk from me. And they were changing the light. So her and I are chat, because she's so lovely. I love her. And we were chatting in between takes, and they were rotating like POVs, so her, me. And so her and I are talking about tofu, because, well, what else are you going to talk about? This is, remember what set used to be like before the telephone, before the mobile phone? Like, but well, I mean, we had mobile phones, but before the social media, like they're silent now on set. But before you had hours to talk to people, like the person sitting across from you. So her and I were talking about tofu recipes. And I was like, oh, you got to marinate, you got a sesame oil and soy sauce, and and as I'm talking, they're moving this plate glass, and I see me talking to her. And I've got like teeth and gills. She's like, what else do you do with it? You know, how is she talking to me? You know, like with a straight face. I got these like contact lenses that look like a birth, you know, a pregnancy test. And she's like, and then what do you do with the, you know? So here I am with this mask on, you know, with my lips sewn shut, talking to the cast, and they're like, who's this weirdo?
But you must have had a few experiences in your career with the characters you played of people not recognizing you at the wrap party, or like when you were in your normal clothes, they'd be like, who the hell is this? You know? I mean, as it is with COVID, you can, you know, when you see people and everyone's in the masks. I mean, I've just done a job and spent 3 months with somebody, and on the last night, because we couldn't have a wrap party because of COVID, but we were all quarantining in a hotel together. But we had to wear the masks unless we were eating in the hotel. So you get really used to seeing people's eyes, and obviously the makeup department know your face. And for the actors, you take your masks off when you act. But this girl suddenly started chatting to me, and I was like, I don't know who the hell this is. And finally, she was like, "It's me, Ellie." I was like, "Oh,
yeah."
And all this hair and beautiful face. I was like, "You've been hiding that under your mask." So has that happened to you?
God, yeah. Oh, yeah. I have countless stories of that, but one of my favorites is obviously Stargate, because I went to 5 wrap parties, but it was the first one, because not only was it that they would see me on set with all that makeup and everything on, like after we'd worked together for hours. And but I had to go so much earlier than them. So even most of the crew had no idea what I looked like. Like when I would get there, they had got the time down to about 5 hours, but it started at 9 hours. So 9 hours to put that makeup on. And then you shoot for 12 to 16 hours. Like they try to shoot you out because you have this. Yeah. So, and then 2 hours to get out of it. So it was like a full on, you know, so I was there way before anybody, shoot, and then way after, because we had to take the whole thing off, right? So everybody would leave. And so for the first season, they had no idea. And at this time I was still modeling, and they had this, at the time of this wrap party, they had these in Vancouver, they had this like international fashion shows where you do like 10 shows in a row. So I had this crazy makeup on and this weird hair, and it was on Vancouver Island and Granville Island, and the wrap party was just across. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna run over, and I had these like pirate pants on. I don't, you know, fashion shows, right? They're just weird. So I go running over there, you know, and I'm running in the door, and I'm like, hello, everybody, you know, and they're like, you know, like, who brought the stripper? You know, like, who's the stripper? Who's some stripogram is here for somebody, you know? And I was like, oh my God, no one knows who I am. No one knows who I am. So I walk up to Bev, who was the mic lady, and I just start talking to her, and she turns her head, and I said, that's it. I said, you know, you had your hands down my pants not 2 days ago, and now you can't look me in the face. She went like 1,000 shades red, and she's like, Andee? She just completely lost her mind. And she ran through the rest of the restaurant going, that's her. And everybody started turning around. No one knew. No one knew it was me. And I completely forgot like how shocking it was to them to see it. So yeah.
That is funny. That is classic.
Yeah, it was good.
I once did a which I don't actually know if it ever got made, but I did a video game in the early 90s for Deep Space Nine, and I played a kind of high priestess, but with the kind of lizard reptilian thing and red contact lenses. And I forgot, of course, because you're in the makeup for 7 or 8 hours. You forget that that's what you look like. And every time I walked past a reflective surface or the mirror in the bathroom, you know, washing my hands, I'd be like, whoa!
That's it, totally. Well, I have the best story of that. So I was in a show. Oh God, I'm trying to remember the name of it right now. Anyway, I played a demon. Shocking. I played a demon, but I was in full prosthetics. I mean, full on, like it was a full on suit that they literally glued me into, and they had to cut me out of it after 12 hours. And then the next day put me back in a suit. And it was, the character's name was Baphomet. So it was like a Baphomet, I think is how you pronounce it, but it's a demon, like a she devil. And so it was like this corpse. I had horns. I had 4 contact lenses. I had black, completely black, and then they put flames on top of those ones. Plus, I wear contacts, so I had 6 like lenses. It was insane. I had a tongue. It was a forked tongue, so it was like a condom. I was like, can you imagine if we froze right then? That would be awful. Anyway. That would be my luck. Anyway, so I had to put this on. I had a tail. I had these wings that came out. I had these horns that came out. It was insane. It was an insane outfit. Anyway, it had a woman's torso, but charred and blackened and burnt. But definitely there were breasts. They were my breasts, but they were breasts. Okay, but I didn't really, because they're not my breasts, you know. So anyway, I'm standing in line getting dinner from the dinner cart, right? And no one will look me in the face. And I can't figure out why no one is talking to me. I mean, of course I look weird, but I've taken the horns, I've taken the wings, I've taken the tail. I don't have the nail. Why? The tongue, it's gone. And then I realize I got my tatas hanging out. They think those breasts were my breasts.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And that's when I was like, oh my God. So I run to wardrobe, and now we're on location, right? So I run to wardrobe and I'm like, you got to give me something. People think these are my tatas, and I can't be sitting in the food, eating it with my tatas hanging out. No one's going to talk to me. So she goes, well, the only thing I have is this old man terry cloth green robe. Like an old man robe, the one that goes just under the butt cheeks, like that with a big, So that's what I had to wear. So I had this old man creepy robe.
Oh, it was that or having the prosthetic boobs hanging out.
But it was so crazy. And it was literally like me walking around going, they're not mine. They're not mine. Like it's just,
and everyone's like, yeah, right, Andee.
They're not mine.
I have to
say,
it's
the humidity. It's the humidity.
Oh dear. I have to say, Andee, looking at your career, I love that you've always played such different characters. I mean, no typecasting for you. There's one day you're a prostitute, the next an inmate or a cop. I mean, you've done, Romeo section mistresses, Frequency, the campy turn of the high priestess on Flash Gordon. Do you actively look for that variety, or has that just sort of happened serendipitously?
I think what they call it is someone that doesn't say no. I'm like, I'll do it. 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 I swear to God. They're like, I love the challenge of it. I love to play outside of my, I mean, that's why I got into this. I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to tell stories, and these are stories, and the most interesting characters have the most interesting stories to tell. And so if I wanted to play myself, or I wanted to stay, like, oh, I want to be sexy or woman or whatever, or, even a female, like I want to be alive. I want to be alive. I want to be from this planet, those, I tell that story every day. I tell that story being me every day. So why not tell a story of something that I can learn so much about as well? Like being another character, you get to, as you're doing your research for the character, I'm learning so many things as well, right? So I love playing the weirdos. I don't know why. I mean, I'm so normal.
I think there's something so liberating about playing that as well, and embracing our inner kind of quirkiness or geek or weirdo or whatever, you gotta do it, right?
And those are the ones that get remembered, like no one's come up to me and been like, hey, remember I loved you as that lawyer. You're like, but they're like, oh, I loved you as that flying dead beast that, like, you're like, yeah, you did.
Let's talk a little bit about your recurring role in Van Helsing. You play Abby, who turns out to be quite an important character. Tell us a little bit about how the role came to you, and about Abby, if you can.
Oh, I loved Abby. Look at me. I'm like, oh, Abby. I loved Abby. I loved her. And oh my God, working with Neil. Oh my God, I love that set. What a fantastic show as well. Like again, we were talking earlier about sci-fi. This is a whole show about women badasses, like just kicking and blood and no holds barred. I love that. I love that this is a show just women out there kicking it, killing, being bad. I just, I don't know. I love that show. And I love the character of Abby. I like the boss, you know, she's coming in. I will say that, so I auditioned for a different role, and I didn't get that role, but I auditioned for Lucky, which the character went to, I'm going to say Andrea. I'm so bad with names, everybody. You can totally fact check me. She's amazing. I love her. Darling is her name in my mind. Andrea, I think it is. Anyway, she's fantastic. And as soon as I saw her playing Lucky, I was like, that's Lucky. Like, as soon as I said that was exactly who Lucky was. But they brought me in, and then I booked for a different character, for a witch.
Right.
And then they brought me in, and they didn't tell me what I was reading for. They were like, oh, we have this other thing. And so I went in, okay, yep. And then just, you know, put it up. And then by the time I made it back to the car, they're like, you have this character. But it was so hush that they wouldn't even tell me who it was, right? Because they wanted that for the cliffhanger of that, to end that season, right? So they didn't even tell me where it was going until I was like, oh, what? You know, like I got in the end. But this beautiful daughter of mine, they had to age me. So I'm actually wearing age makeup, and you know, it's kind of grainy the way it's shot. It's so amazing the way that they did it. So it looks, you know, because it's apocalypse, right? So it's not going to be crystal clear. So it's kind of grainy. So you can't. I look bad, but you don't know that it's prosthetics. And so
no, I disagree.
Really, because
for me,
could you tell?
I couldn't tell at all that you were wearing prosthetics. But what I loved is that two things. I thought every week there's always a surprise when I watch people's work. And this performance for me was your surprise, because she has a very different energy to anything else that I saw you did. Some of that stillness from Mina, the AI is there, but there's an internal strength. There's a maternal strength, which is interesting. And she looks like she's been through the mill. And for me, I was like, I love that. I can't stand it when I watch stuff where the woman is meant to be grieving or hasn't slept for 5 days, and they're like, I am so exhausted. I am so tired. You know, or like they've got to be natural and they have like a full beat on. It's like, come on, we're actors. You can get glammed up for the press thing or afterwards. So kudos to you and the makeup department, because I couldn't tell, but I can tell here that you don't look quite as aged as you did then. But it never leapt out to me as like, oh, she's, you know, oh, she's old. I was like, what a flipping brilliant performance is what I thought.
Thank you. I mean, they obviously helped out with, you know, like the aged makeup and stuff. And then of course, you know, you pull that character out, you know, you see like, oh my God, the performance of, I just watched The Father. What? I mean, you see him. Oh, okay. Well, you see him age, like he just, it's fantastic. Anthony Hopkins. Like I have to say, it was incredible performance. But there was obviously that component to her age. But I'm on set and I saw someone I hadn't seen in a long time, and I come her and she's like, "Oh, you're on the show," and I was like, I don't look this bad. Like it hasn't been a bad couple of years, you know. Like I just like I'm not this tired, but that's also a part of that show that I loved, is that there wasn't this glam trailer and everybody about to go kick, you know, some apocalyptic butt, and they were getting their eyebrows done. All of us were like, you know, they were really, that's what they wanted, was real faces out there, and that grittiness, and the actors and more, you know, the actresses were, let's do this. Like, this is authentic. This is how I feel. Like, I feel grungy and I feel, you know, I'm not getting a pedicure. It's the apocalypse, right? So they were out there, like, that's how they were bringing their characters. I love that about that show as well. Like you said, it's not a sanitized version of women. And again, this is Neil LaBute. Like, I love this show for that as well. Like these are ass kicking, like blood, like women out there chopping people to bits, and they're not doing it in stilettos. You know,
No.
like they are wearing combat boots and getting guns and like, you know, I don't know. I felt there was as fantastical as the story is, there was an authenticity in how it was written. I thought that was amazing. That's what I loved about it. And when you said like sorry to see a character go, or a character that I would have loved to see where she could have gone. Abby's, and I love the name. I loved her name. I love it. And I also did, I didn't tell Neil this, but I had worked on that play that he did, the 9/11 play, and the character's name was Abby as well. Yeah, I love that. I love that scene. Do you know that play that he wrote?
I know of it, yes. I can't remember what it's called, but it's all about the guy who's having an affair when the towers go down.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to, obviously he chooses, like, do I run off now because people think I'm dead and start my new life?
Mercy seat. The mercy seat. Yes.
Thank you, Drew.
Yes. Thank you. I was like, how terrible. I put it up. I put a couple of the scenes up back in last year when I was in Melbourne as well. But I'd done it before. It's a great play. A great play. And if you read it, there's nothing. There's no stage direction at all. It's just line slash line slash. It's like, just do this. Like Neil has so much faith in his actors to put it up. He's like, put it up. You know what I'm trying to say? Put it up. So I loved it. Yeah, I loved Abby, and I was sorry to see her bleed out.
Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched it. But no, it's fine. I think it's all right.
Oh no.
So just before we hand over to everyone for questions, I am wondering what the next few months look like for you. Are you going to head back to Canada? Have you decided to stay and embrace? Because you can work. You've got your studio, your portable. Well, I love some of the fact that you've had to like do your voiceovers under a duvet in sweating heat.
Oh my God. It's And here, oh my God, here you've got the chicken. Well, I say chickens, and my mom's like, they're not the chicken, it's the rooster. And I was like, okay, it's the rooster. And they have the cicadas. It's like the symphony of cicadas. And you're like, oh my gosh. So it's been a challenge, but a fun and interesting obstacles to take to try to get stuff recorded. I spent the last year in Phuket waiting kind of on bated breath about when to go back. Not sure like when can I go back? Should I go back? What's happening? Like they closed the acting down the industry was down for 4 months. And so I waited over a year, just not settling. I wasn't there and I wasn't here. And then about a month ago, the beginning of March, I just thought to myself, you know what? This is a once in a lifetime, really unique opportunity. I need to really embrace it. I need to grab onto this, and to fully immerse myself in being here. And so I left Phuket, and a week later we had a break. There was a cluster broke out here in Phuket. So it was just, and so now I'm on this tiny, tiny island. And as you saw by the video, I'm working hard, or hardly working. And so my intention right now is to, really just kind of focus on being here until the green lights, till there seems to be a clearer path, of what the options are. And not to be just anticipating continuously what's going to happen, just kind of be here right now. and we'll see
it.
where that goes. Yes,
Well,
and sorry?
I was going to say that is the perfect note to hand over and say to anybody who wants to ask a question. I've got a few questions
Yes,
from people
please.
who've emailed in, but if anyone wants to ask a question, let's do it. Because I think that is the way to live right now, to live in the moment and one day at a time. The whole world is going through this simultaneously.
Exactly.
I haven't seen my family in a year and a half. It's the longest we've ever been apart. But I keep thinking,
Wow.
well, you just have to take it one day at a time. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
One day at a time.
And I think it's the idea of, for me, what I'm appreciating at this time, and I have the luxury to be appreciative.
Yeah.
I just also want to say that that's a very entitled way to live right now, because I can. There are people that are faced with very difficult choices, that are very stressed because they have lots of responsibilities that I don't have. So I don't want to say, oh, everybody's just, because I don't live in their world. My world has allotted me this. I'm very blessed to be in the space that I'm in. But I think it's an appreciation that we didn't have before, coming from a privileged, economically Canadian culture, where I can just jump on a plane and fly here and fly there. I left 3 years ago, actually.
Yeah.
I've been living in Costa Rica, Turkey, Greece, Portugal. I've been bouncing everywhere. Bali, I was in Indonesia. So that's a big privilege to be able to do that, and to now saying, no, you can't go anywhere. You suddenly are put in that, wow, look at the life I was leading, so unconsciously, just unconsciously, and I've had the real great opportunity here to volunteer. So I was volunteering with food distribution, packing bags, and volunteering at schools with kids. And that would be something that if I came for 30 days, I would never have been able to see from the Thai people and how they live, and their customs and their culture, So yeah, being here and not putting any expectation in the future, because we don't know what that looks like. So really just being here. Oh, I feel it's like,
I couldn't agree. We've got some questions have come up. Let's
sorry.
No, it's fine.
Sorry.
Vegetarian, where is the best place you've eaten? Claire Khan. Hi, Claire.
Hi. Do you mean in Thailand? Does she mean in Thailand?
Or anywhere, I guess.
Anyway, well, I want to say Copenhagen. So in this area that I'm in Copenhagen, it's all this whole street is vegetarian and vegan restaurants. So
heaven.
It's unbelievable, the unbelievable. And again, we can eat here because it's outside. So we do wear masks to enter, but all the eateries are outside, or you can take them to go. So I've had the best vegetarian food. Yeah, here on this little island.
Amazing. So here we've got a question. Were you allowed from Dana? Dana is the girl who makes the amazing, amazing posters for Hathor Hosts. Thank you, Dana, and thank you for joining us.
Yes.
She's incredible. Were you allowed to keep any props from your TV and movie appearances? If not, what would you like to keep if you had the opportunity? Oh, that's a good question.
Shoes. That outfit I knew right away, from Allies, the white travel suit, I called it, with those white shoes and the white travel coat. 100%. I actually did try to see if I could get that for a Halloween, to wear it as a Halloween costume. I would have loved that. I would have loved to go to. So no, I didn't get to take anything.
No, I didn't either. I wish I had now. I didn't keep anything of mine. Since you were in a vampire show, what is your most fave vampire movie?
Fave vampire movie? Do you remember Fright Nights? I love Fright Night.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's one of my favorites because it's campy and funny and scary and Fright Nights. I know that's terrible. I love that one because it's funny.
No, I love that. Mine is
very funny.
Interview with a Vampire, except I didn't love the film, but I love the story of Interview with a Vampire. So so cool, so cool.
Anne Rice, the story is beautiful. Yes, that is a very cool story. Yeah.
Right, let's see here, another one. I was wondering if you've got recognized by a fan on the street and what was their reaction? Well, obviously not, because you were always in makeup.
Yeah,
so recognized by
I here in Thailand, no. they're like, no, nobody recognized me here.
No.
But in Vancouver, I remember meeting someone on the Sky train, and they were and the first comment always is, "Oh, you're so nice."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know why you would assume I would be mean.
So I'm going to have a little look. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were finished.
No, go on. Yeah.
So we're going to look at some of the email questions here.
Yes.
Can you tell us about how you get into character for each Wraith Queen?
How I got into character was, again, just the script, reading the script and eliciting. It's like a little detective, you're pulling all the little hints out, and then you're ingesting them. So for me, I build a character by the script. I mean, I trust 100% my writer, because they have the story to tell. And so I just elicit it from the writing, and then I embody that. So how, here's the objective, this is where they want to go, how would my character get there? And then you just and I call it layering or fattening it up. So you fatten your character. You start with the bones, and then you put the muscles on, and then you put the skin, and then you get fatter and fatter. So and each sweep through the script, and then maybe the set, maybe, you just keep pulling and then building and building on top of it.
Yeah, and as you said, I think superbly, and I love that image, actually, of filling it out and fattening it up, because in a show like Stargate, the writers are so fantastic. There's so much info on the page, and then also you guys were playing a brand new race that evolved and changed, and largely that was because of you. But it becomes like almost like a kind of tennis match, where they lob a shot to you, and you take that and then lob it back. And I love that.
And interpretation as well. Yeah. So you interpret, like, how would this look in my way? And then, and so, you're giving meat and bones to their ideas. So.
Yeah. So last question, and it's a question for both of us, which is, what country and or city that you've never visited or had a chance to visit yet would you love to, and why?
Prague. That's I had an opportunity to go there many years ago, like, oh my God, I think when I was 17 or 18, when I was in Greece. I was working in Greece, and the Czech Republic had, this is gonna date me, girl. The Czech Republic had just opened the door. They just opened the door, and they were communists, and they were part of Russia before, and it was maybe a year, 2 years later they had opened the door. And I didn't get a chance to go. I got a booking and I didn't go, and I have wanted to go for so long. One of my guilty pleasures, and they don't have them here, is every city I go to, I go on a ghost tour. I love them. I love ghost tours. I love them. And Prague, I feel like I'd have to take 2 or 3. I would have to take 2 or 3, just because I'm sure there's so many different areas and different stories from all different places. So every city I've gone, I go on a ghost tour.
Well, I think we need
I'm
to
addicted.
get you. I know. I think we need to get you to come to Comic-Con in Prague, which is happening in October. And I would love to have you with me. So we need to speak to your convention agent and try and get you to come.
Yes. Oh my God, I'm gonna start. Oh, you're like the Wish Foundation for kids. You're granting my wishes.
Oh, it would be so lovely to have a buddy. I also have longed to visit.
Oh my gosh, please.
To visit Prague. So
where would you
I'm
go?
sure we've got people watching. Where would I go? I have been desperate to go to Japan. I have never had an opportunity to visit Japan. I was going to go in 2020 because 2020 was my a leap year birthday, and I'm a leap year baby. So my plan was to have my birthday in Paris, which I did. And then I said to my husband, I want to book a trip to Japan. I want to go to Kyoto and Tokyo, and I love the food. I love the culture. I know very little.
Sure.
I'm so happy to learn. And I was like, let's make 2020 the year we do it. So yeah, that's still hopefully going to come. But I love traveling, as I know you do, and I feel very lucky that we've been able to see as many places as we have. So long may it continue. When the world comes back to normal.
Yes.
Well, dearest Andee,
on the new normal.
Yeah, exactly, on the new normal. I wanted to just say thank you so much for giving so graciously your time in your jungalow under, I know, very tricky circumstances because it's hot and sweaty, and you're in a kind of corner in your room, but I love it.
Pants.
And thank you.
No pants. No pants. That is the trick, kids. That is the trick.
That is the trick. And I have become very good with the Zoom glamour in that you're dressed to the top, but on the bottom you're in sweats and slippers or no pants when it's hot. Oh dear.
No pants. Oh my God, I love it. I love it. Yes, thank you so much for the invite. I am so glad to have connected with you again. I'm so happy when you reached out. I was like, yes, I would love to do that. So I'd love to connect with the fans. I'd love to connect with you. And let's do a ghost tour in Prague. Let's do a ghost tour in Prague. Me and you.
It is a date.
We'll take Drew with us. We'll take Drew with us. Come on, let's do it. Oh my God, I love it. That would be amazing. It's a date. It's a date. Let's do that. Okay. Thank you so much. 100%.
Thank you so much. On that spooky note, we are going to say our farewell and Kap Kun Ka to the beautiful Andee Frizzell. What a gorgeous soul.
Take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves.
Thank you so much. And thank you very much to everyone who's joined us in the middle of the day here. As I said, I can see the sun going in and out. So my light has been a bit like, ooh. But, I love it. It's live, and how lucky that we are to be able to do this and chat to these wonderful actors about their careers and their interesting lives. I feel very, very lucky indeed. And thank you so much for giving up your time wherever you are in the world, and for joining us for this Hathor Hosts. Next week, my guest will be Will Kemp, who is an extraordinary English actor, used to be a ballet dancer. He's had an amazing, amazing career, is having an amazing career. We've worked together on The Princess Switch 3, but also he is one of the leads in the CW series Reign, as in Reign of a King and Queen, not Rain. And I can't wait to chat to him about his career. Have a fantastic week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you next week. Mwah. Bye.